So let's get into it. What happens when you truly get what the mind of Christ is? I'm not talking about churchy rules or trying to be a goody two-shoes. Forget all that. I'm talking about a total game changer, a complete system reboot of your entire life. Imagine this, all that noise in your head, the worry, the what if, the endless scroll of drama just stops. Poof. Gone. Not because you fought it, but because you saw it for what it really is, a ghost on a screen. When you tap into the Christ mind, it's like you finally see the code behind the matrix. You realize you're not some lonely little character running around trying not to get hit. You're the whole darn program itself. The peace, the power, the presence, it's not something you get, it's what you already are. This ain't some far-off pie-in-the-sky idea. This is about right now. The moment you understand this, I mean really get it in your gut, every problem, every fear, every lack loses its license to mess with you. It's like you found the master key to every locked door in your life. But here's the wild part. What if I told you this key doesn't open a door, but dissolves the entire building? Stick around, because we're about to go way deeper down the rabbit hole than you think. If this is hidden for you, if it's making something in you sit up and take notice, don't just bounce. Show some love like this video, drop a comment with the number 777 if this resonated, and subscribe. This isn't just more content, it's a conversation. And your journey, it's just getting started. Let's keep walking this path together. Now, let's break down that first point. The ghost in the machine you're thinking ain't you. See, Goldsmith hit this hard. We walk around 24/7 convinced that the voice in our head, that non-stop commentary, that judge, that planner, that rehasher of last week's argument. We think that's who we are, we say. I think, therefore I am. But Goldsmith flips the script. He says that noisy tenant upstairs is just a ghost, a phantom. It's software running on the hardware of your true being. You are not the frantic thoughts scrolling by, you are the silent, vast screen upon which they appear. Get this. You believe you're the thinker, so you take ownership of every anxious, petty, fearful thought that drifts through. You claim it. My anxiety, my problem, my anger. And because you think it's you, you feel obligated to engage with it, to fight it, to solve it, to wrestle with it. You give it power. You fuel it. It's like being haunted in your own house and thinking you are the ghost, so you just keep rattling your own chains. That mental racket, it's just conditioned data. It's old newsreels playing, past programming, societal noise, accumulated reactions. It's the machine of human consciousness, and we're all plugged into the same basic network of fear and separation. But the mind of Christ, that's a whole different operating system. It's not another better thought. It's not a positive affirmation to shout over the negative ones. That's just putting a polite ghost in charge of the rowdy ones. No, this is the realization of the space before thought. It's the awareness that is awares of the thinking. You are the witness, the watcher, the silent knowing that perceives the ghost without being spooked by it. When you truly glimpse this, it's the wildest relief you'll ever know. The pressure's off. You don't have to fix, manage, or perfect the ghost. You just have to see it for what it is, an illusion of power. So all that mental drama, the what-ifs, the regrets, the stories about how you've been wronged or what you lack, they lose their authority. They don't stop necessarily, not at first. But now you hear them like static from a radio in another room. Interesting, maybe, but not your business, not your identity. Your identity is the boundless, quiet presence that can hear the static without being disturbed by it. This is the foundation. Until you get this separation, you'll just keep trying to use the ghost to solve the problems the ghost created. And that, friends, is a game you can never win. You're trying to use the problem as the solution. This understanding is the first, crucial crack in the wall of the false self. It's the moment you stop being a prisoner to the endless broadcast and realize you're the vast, open sky through which the signal passes. So once you get that separation, Once you see the ghost for the phantom it is, something radical happens. That old operating system, the one that runs on lack, on fear, on me versus the world, it crashes, not with a bang, but with a whisper of understanding. This is the ultimate system reboot, shifting from being a problem solver to abiding as pure presence. See your entire life, you've been trained to live in racked mode. A problem pops up on the screen of your life, and the whole machine kicks into gear: identify, analyze, strategize, fix. Your sense of self, of being the other, is tied up in that frantic activity. You think your purpose is to be the solver, but what Goldsmith points us toward is a truth that fries that circuitry. The Christ mind isn't a better, smarter problem solver. It's the realization that what you fundamentally are exists prior to any problem. Problems are perceptions of the ghost, disturbances in the surface-level software. But your real being, the I am that you are, is the very depth of the ocean itself, untouched by the storms on the surface. This reboot means you stop looking out there for solutions and you start anchoring in here, in this unwavering presence. It's not passive. It's the most active state there is, but it's an activity of being, not doing. It's like the sun. The sun doesn't do anything to solve darkness. It simply shines by its own nature, and the darkness, which was never a substantive thing anyway, just ceases to be. When you abide as presence, you aren't fighting problems. You're realizing that most problems are just shadows cast by the belief that you are separate from the infinite source of all. Imagine you're in a dark room, tangled up in ropes, thinking you're trapped. The old you, the problem solver, would feel for knots, try to chew through the rope, exhaust yourself struggling. The reboot is like someone flips on the light. You see the ropes were just loose coils on the floor. You were never actually bound. The solution wasn't an action, it was the light of awareness. That's what this shift is. You stop trying to untee knots in the dark, and you let the light of your own conscious presence reveal what was always true: your freedom. This is where the magic, the practical, tangible magic starts. Instead of your energy being siphoned off into managing the ghost's dramas, it becomes available. It consolidates. You stop living from the outside, in where circumstances dictate your inner state, and you begin living from the inside out, where your anchored peace reshapes your perception of circumstances. You aren't trying to arrange the world to feel safe. You are discovering the safety that exists at your core, regardless of the world. The reboot installs a new core command: abide. Rest? No. From that place, action may arise, but it will be clear, purposeful, and without the frantic energy of the problem solver who doesn't know he's already free. It's the end of the exhausting search for peace, because you've become the very thing you were seeking. And this is where the whole seeker's journey does a complete 180. You crash from the frantic search, you reboot into presence, and then you get the punchline. No more seeking. The treasure's already in the house. Your entire life, you've been on a pilgrimage to a distant city, begging for scraps along the way, when the entire time the deed to the kingdom was buried in your own pocket. We're conditioned for lack, so we seek. We seek enlightenment, we seek peace, we seek abundance, we seek healing, as if they're commodities on some spiritual shelf we haven't reached yet. Goldsmith shatters that. The Christ mind isn't a prize for the worthy at the end of a long road. It's the very ground you're walking on. It's the seeker himself. Think about how insane the search really is. You are using the mind of Christ, that very awareness, that very capacity for knowing, to seek the mind of Christ. It's like your eyes trying to look at themselves without a mirror. They can't see themselves, but they are the very faculty by which all seeing happens. You are the treasure, not a future version of you. Not a you that finally gets good enough or quiet enough. The you that is reading these words right now. What beneath the noise is it? The peace you want isn't out there. It's the substance of your own being when you stop running from it. The love you crave to feel is the essence of what you are when you stop blocking it with conditions. It's already in the house. You're just rummaging in the basement, convinced it must be in the attic, while it's sitting in plain sight in the living room. This changes the game from acquisition to recognition. It's not about adding a single thing to your consciousness. It's about subtracting the layers of belief that tell you you're empty, that you're a sinner, that you're separate, that you're not there yet. The work is one of unveiling, not building. It's a shift from, well, how do I get peace, to what in me is resisting the peace that is already here. The hunger itself is the barrier. The feeling that you are a seeker is the final illusion to be seen through. When you truly get this, a profound relaxation sets in. The spiritual treadmill grinds to a halt. You stop measuring your progress, because how do you measure progress toward what you already are? You stop trying to become spiritual and you start being the spirituality that was your birthright. This is the end of the seeking drama and the beginning of actual living. Your attention, which was always projected outward toward the next teacher, the next book, the next technique, collapses back into its source. You start to inhabit yourself. You take up residence in the kingdom, and from that settled, undeniable knowing, you look out at the world. You don't see a place to extract what you need. You see a place to express what you've discovered you already have. The energy that was tied up in seeking, the hope, the desperation, the subtle disappointment is freed up. It becomes creativity. It becomes compassion. It becomes a quiet joy that doesn't come from getting something, but from finally realizing nothing was ever missing. The search was a detour. Now you're home. And home isn't a euphoric state, it's a simple, unshakable certainty that what you are cannot be lost, damaged, or found, because it is the only constant, the very I am that witnesses the coming and going of all things, including the beautiful, exhausting dream of being a seeker. So you're home. You've stopped the frantic search because you realize the treasure was never lost. And from this new address, this anchored place of being rather than seeking, you look out at the old neighborhood of your life, the fears, the bills, the conflicts, the not-enoughness, and something wild happens. Fear and lack lose their license to operate. It's not that they pack up and vanish overnight. Nah, it's that they get exposed. They're like shady contractors who've been overcharging you for years, and you finally got the real blueprints. You see, they had no real authority. Their power was a loan you gave them, and you're calling in the note. See, fear and lack are phantoms of the ghost mind, the old operating system. They depend entirely on one belief, the belief in separation. The belief that you are a fragile, isolated unit cut off from the source, navigating a dangerous world of limited resources. That's their only fuel. But when you touch the Christ mind, you have a direct experience of non-separation. You feel, even for a flash, that you are not a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop. You are not a thread in the tapestry, you are the weave itself. From that vantage point, what is there to fear? A wave is not afraid of the ocean. A branch is not afraid of the tree. It knows its source is inexhaustible. Its being is sustained not by its own fragile efforts, but by the whole. Lack is the same scam. It's the ghost's story about the future projected onto the present. It says, what is not enough, and what will be is uncertain. But presence knows only the eternal now, and in the now, in this very second, what are you actually lacking? Or are you just comparing your current scene to a mental movie of a different one? Lack can't breathe in the full atmosphere of the present moment. It needs the thin air of past regret and future anxiety. When you abide as the Christ mind, you're living in the infinite resource of the present. Solutions, ideas, provisions, they don't come from you figuring it out. They emerge through you, or from that infinite source. Your job isn't to manufacture supply, but to get your little sense of me out of the way so the flow can happen. This is the practical power. A problem arises, let's say a financial scare. The ghost goes into red alert, panic, scramble, visualize debtor's prison. But from the rebooted system, you feel that surge of old fear, and you recognize it as just the ghost running its outdated program. Instead of following it, you turn within, you rest back into that knowing, that presence, that connectedness. You don't pray for money, you pray for the consciousness that sees the illusion of lack. And from that quiet, an intuition might arise, a call to make, an idea to try, a forgotten resource. Or sometimes the situation just resolves externally in a way you couldn't have engineered. But the real miracle is internal. You weren't shaken. The fear came, but it couldn't stay because it found no believer in you to host it. Its license was revoked. You operate now from a law of divine inclusion, not from a law of material scarcity. The problems might still knock on the door, but they find no one home to be afraid of them. This brings us to the real tool, the only tool you'll ever need from here on out. It's the master key that dissolves the lock. See, your whole life you've been collecting keys. Keys to success, keys to relationships, keys to healing, specific solutions for specific problems. You've got a key ring heavier than a jailer's. And every time you face a new locked door, you fumble through them, trying each one, forcing them, hoping for a fit. It's exhausting. The spiritual path often just gives you a new, sheenier set of keys. Meditate more, affirm this, visualize that. But the master key of the Christ mind is different. It doesn't fit the lock. It doesn't even turn. When applied with understanding, it dissolves the lock entirely, and you realize the door was an illusion, just a painting on a wall of open space. Think of any problem you have right now. It feels solid, real, and locked. It has weight. The lock is your belief in the reality of the problem as a separate, powerful thing opposing you. The old you attacks the lock. You try to think your way through it, fight it, negotiate with it, accept it. You're still granting it reality. The master key is the conscious realization of oneness. You don't apply it to the problem. You apply it instead of staring at the problem. You turn away from the looming door and you turn within to the felt sense of boundless being. To that ocean, depth you now know you are. You don't think about God, you sink into the God awareness that is your own awareness. You let that be your only fact. In that space, a metaphysical shift occurs. The problem, which was a constellation of thought and fear, is seen from a new perspective. From the infinite, the finite cannot maintain its solidity. It's not that you solve it, it's that you stop giving it the energy of your belief that it is a thing to be solved. The lock of the problem was only ever a hardened, concentrated form of your own belief in separation and lack. When you return to the consciousness of unity, you're withdrawing the very substance that made the lock seem solid. It begins to soften, to blur. It may resolve in a practical way, a phone call, a sudden insight, a shift in another person. Or, more often, it just ceases to be a problem in your consciousness. It becomes a neutral circumstance, or it vanishes from your view entirely, having served its purpose of driving you back to the key. This is why Goldsmith talked about rising above the problem, not fighting it on its own level. Fighting the lock affirms the lock. This key is the bypass of the entire dualistic system of problem and solution. You're not a better locksmith, you're no longer a prisoner in the room the door pretended to enclose. This is the ultimate empowerment and the ultimate surrender. You surrender the exhausting battle of being the problem solver, and in that surrender, you are empowered by a force that operates on a different plane entirely. Every challenge becomes the same instruction. Don't focus on the lock, use the key. And the key is always the same, a conscious, deliberate return to the I am, to the feeling of infinite life being you right now until the false solidity of the world of locks melts in its presence. You stop trying to change what you see, and you let the change in your seeing change everything. This is where we get real. This ain't philosophy. It's not about nodding along to some nice ideas you file away for a rainy day. This is the gut punch. It's a revelation. It's not a theory. It's a gut punch revelation. All of this, the ghost, The reboot, the treasure, the dissolved locks, it remains just elegant mental furniture until it drops from your head into your belly, until it moves from something you believe to something you have know in a way that bypasses all argument. That shift isn't an intellectual upgrade. It's a spiritual catastrophe that rearranges your entire inner landscape. One moment you understand the words, and the next, the floor of your perceived reality falls out, and you're standing on something that cannot be shaken. Goldsmith didn't teach concepts. He pointed toward an experience, a sudden, often shocking, awakening to what is. You can have all the principles memorized, but until you have that moment where the sense of being a separate, me, doing spiritual work collapses, and all that's left is the silent, humming is-ness of being. It's just information. The revelation is the end of seeking because you are seized by the very thing you sought. It feels less like an achievement and more like being ambushed by the truth. It's a knowing that comes with a physical sensation, a rush of clarity, a visceral relaxation so deep it feels like your bones are sighing, a sudden, quiet laughter at the cosmic joke you were living. This is why it changes everything. You can't unknow it. You can forget it, you can get lost in the ghost dramas again, but you can't erase the footprint of that experience. It becomes your North Star. When fear arises, you don't recall a theory about fear being an illusion. You have a living memory, a cellular imprint of the reality that is fear-free. That memory pulls you back. It's the difference between reading a map of a country and actually breathing its air. Once you've tasted the water, no description of thirst will ever satisfy you again. All subsequent spiritual practice is just about cleaning the cup, about removing whatever it is in you that's still saying, "But what about?" so that the revelation can be your constant state, not just a brilliant flash. This gut punch is what makes it practical. It takes it out of the Sunday morning box and wires it into your Tuesday afternoon traffic jam. Because the revelation isn't about blissing out on a mountaintop. It's the shocking understanding that the peace of the mountaintop is the very substance of your being right here in the gridlock. The traffic is the painting. The revelation is the wall it's painted on. From that moment on, you're not trying to build a better painting, you're learning to see the wall. And that seeing is what frees you. It doesn't necessarily change the circumstance first, it changes you in the circumstance. And that change in you, that unshakable knowing that you are the awareness and not the story unfolding within it, is the only change that ever mattered. That's when the truth becomes your life. Not an idea you live by, but the very ground you are living as.